Most bankers aren't ready to help you until after their third cup of coffee. But with Central National Bank's after-hours service, you don't have to wait for the bank lobby to open to get help. You can contact us from 6 to 8:30 in the morning or from 5 to 10 in the evening, and we'll connect you to a real, live, local person who can answer questions and fix problems 7 days a week. Bank different. Bank Central. Central National Bank. Member FDIC.
Through the night, deep in the heart of Texas, the trailer park is nice and dark. Deep in the heart of Texas, Jack drinks his brew and he spits his chew. Deep in the heart of Texas, the TV blares but no one cares. Deep in the heart of Texas, here we go.
Hey there, welcome to a King of the Hill rewatch podcast. I am Mike.
And I'm Rusty.
Rusty, Season 2, Episode 21.
Yeah, Season 2, Episode 21.
Life in the Fast Lane, Bobby's Saga. So we're starting to get into all these sagas. This is our second saga.
This is our second saga, yeah.
So this episode starts a little differently.
Yeah, it does.
We get a couple of cars revving at each other. Like if you're out on the street and somebody pulls up and wants to race you.
Yeah, at the red light, one of the red light. Everybody's the dick wagon contest, if you will, at the red light.
It's the dick wagon contest. It's Boomhauer on one side, another guy on the other side, and he's revving his engine, and so they take off and they start going real fast, and then the guy that he's racing against starts to get beat, and so he pulls out his siren and his light and puts it on top of the car and pulls Boomhauer over.
Okay.
Now, there's a song that is playing during this race, and it also plays later in the episode.
I didn't catch that.
It's just music, right? And you wouldn't necessarily know what it is unless you know this band.
Okay.
The band is Southern Culture on the Skids.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that sounds,
And the song is
really
Soul
pinpointed.
City from the album Dirt Track Date, which came out in 1995. Now,
okay.
Southern Culture on the Skids holds a special place in my heart. They are probably my all-time favorite band.
Wow.
I've seen them.
It's that deep, is it?
Yeah, I've seen them probably 50, 60 times, like a bunch.
Yeah.
I've seen them a lot. They are a band out of North Carolina, and they tour all over the U.S., but they do this thing where they come to Austin and play at the Continental Club for a week, and then they leave there and they go to the Continental Club in Houston and play there for a week. So I used to double up on them, and I'd go see a couple of shows, that kind of thing. During this time that they're in Austin, there's a big car show and all this other stuff that goes along with it. But they've been coming to Austin for years and years.
Oh, that's awesome.
One year, I saw them at a place in Dallas, and I helped them set up their equipment and the whole thing. It was a really cool show.
Do you think that's Mike Judge flexing his Austin roots?
I think it probably is. I don't know if it's his Austin roots, but I know what kind of music Mike Judge likes at this point.
And it's,
you know what I mean?
And it's like our theme song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am right there with him as far as musically.
I like it. I grew up with a wide variety of music.
Yeah, sure.
Because my dad was born in '60, so my parents were a lot older than a lot of my friends' parents. Because my friends' parents all grew up in the '70s as kids, whereas my parents were teenagers in the '70s.
Yeah.
So a lot of the music that I got was a lot of '50s and '60s stuff from my parents,
Right.
like country and rock and roll music and stuff like that. And then one of my dad's brothers used to listen to 102.5 The Bear, so it was just all the rock and metal and stuff like that. So it was like this really weird fusion of music that I had. So like this rockabilly stuff, I mean, it's different.
It's very rockabilly,
and I like it. It's fun to watch. I don't know if it's something that I would just put headphones on and prop my feet up at home and listen to.
Well, but the
shows are amazing.
I will say this. If anybody out there wants a good time as far as listening to music and it not being heavy, it just being something you can tap your foot along to and drive with and stuff, Southern Culture on the Skids is the way to go. They are.
They're not really heavy like our.
No, they're a wonderful band, and they're just like I said, they're my favorite. I've got posters at the house. I've got all kinds of stuff. I'm
a fanboy.
Deep into Southern Culture on the Skids. Yes, I would be a roadie, absolutely, if I were not married and didn't want to have a life. I would do that. I would follow him around. So the guy pulls Boomhauer over. We find out he's a cop. Boomhauer's like, hey, man, dang old wife's in labor, man. Going to go down to the hospital out of Lamont's partner, man. So he's trying to get out of it. The cop is like, good evening, sir. Do you know why I pulled you over? Because you beat me. I want a rematch. Not here, because Boomhauer tries to do it right then.
Yeah.
He says, this is a school zone. There's an amateur race speedway at the speedway this weekend. Winner gets to drive the pace car when NASCAR comes to town, which is a big deal.
Yeah, well, man, you talking about NASCAR, talking about trying 5 years, man, to get that dang old pace car, man. You going to get me in on there?
Yeah, we find out.
He goes, I see I'm talking your language now.
Yeah. We find out that Boomhauer has wanted to drive that pace car for quite a while. And the funny thing is, as the cop walks away, he busts Boomhauer's back light and just says, I'm going to let that go. I mean, that's kind of a shit thing to do.
It is a shit thing to do, but it's intimidating. He's about to be on the track with him.
Yeah.
It kind of, if you look at the cop, he's got the mustache and stuff like that. The Intimidator, number 3, the Intimidator.
Oh, yeah.
Dale Earnhardt.
The
Intimidator.
I thought he was 24.
No, Dale Earnhardt.
Oh, that's Jeff Gordon
3.
is 24.
Yeah,
Jeff Gordon. They all hate Jeff Gordon.
Mark that for edit. Mike will get killed for that.
Leave that in. We're good.
Leave it in.
All right, so we get to the credits now. That was all before the credits. And we, no bell, no yell during the credits. However, we do get a bell and a yell at the end.
Oh, at the very, very end, at the outro?
Yeah. I think we normally do, though. So all the guys are around Boomhauer's car. They're working on it. He tells him to give some gas, and they do, and there's flames coming out of what I'm assuming is the carburetor.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And he says, fuel mixture's still too rich. Dale's like, yep. Turns his hat around backwards, lights a cigarette off the flames that are coming out of the car. Boomhauer's just, yep. Bill, he is in.
Well, that's what he was doing. He was going in there. He was lighting the cigarette.
Oh, yeah.
And then he could taste the fuel mixture. Because, whatever fuel you use, when you're a cigarette smoker. So if you use a cigarette, you can taste the butane. Or if you use a lighter, you taste the butane.
I guess, yeah. I never
or
really
if you
thought about that.
use a match, it tastes like a burnt match end.
Yeah.
Well, if you use a piece of paper from a gas stove, it tastes like
finger,
paper.
Tastes
E.T.
flesh.
phone home.
Sure.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I wonder if E.T. could light cigarettes.
I'm assuming he could with that finger.
Was it a light though, or was it a heat source?
Well, I think it was both.
It was both.
Yeah.
Okay.
In my world, it's both.
Would that mean that whenever him and Drew, he would have just like melted Drew Barrymore's finger?
Well,
or does he have control?
I think he has control over how much
kind of like
power
pinpoint, like a laser beam. He can like pinpoint the temperature. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, we figured that out. So we get Bill. He's sitting in the driver's seat. And he's like, hey, Boomhauer, look at me. Maybe I could be a race car driver, too. Yeah. And then he tries to get out of the window.
And it's kind of weird, the animation here, too, because the animation doesn't have him being so wide that he couldn't slide out.
Right.
But he is obviously
obviously stuck. Yeah.
Obviously struggling, yeah.
Hank is, Bill, you'd be a regular Dale Earnhardt if you could make it all the way around the track without stopping for a ding-dong. Dale says, or you can do like Jeff Gordon did and have a rich daddy. He hates that Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, there's a lot of discontent for Jeff Gordon in the NASCAR community. You know why? You want me to explain to you?
Yeah, please.
The discontent, and it's mainly
because all I know here is that he had a rich
Southern
daddy.
racetracks, and that's it. So
that's where it all comes from.
Well, a lot of race car drivers come from blue collar backgrounds.
Sure.
Most of them were broke and poured all their money into a racing career to get to the point that Jeff Gordon could breeze to get to. So Jeff Gordon had talent. He was obviously a great racer. He won a lot of races, but he didn't have to work as hard to get to where he was at as a lot of the other drivers did. So everybody just, and Rodney Carrington even, I think, has a song called Jeff Gordon's Gay on one of his albums. So there's a lot of hate for Jeff Gordon based on the fact that he was just a rich kid that
crazy.
Could wreck his car and not have to worry about how he was going to have another car the next week to race.
See, I've just never, my dad raced, but he did dirt track stuff like those little midget cars, that kind of thing. But
those are fast too, though. Those are,
I guess, little people cars. Sorry.
That's what they're called.
I know, I'm just joking. But he used to build the cars and race them and all that stuff. He's got a ton of trophies and things for all that stuff he did. But I just never got into racing.
Did you ever?
I was just never
race,
a NASCAR.
Though? Did you ever?
No.
He didn't ever throw you in one just to say, "Here you go."
No, it was before me.
I was before you.
Before me. Yeah, so it was in the early 1800s.
It was like the horse and wagon racing.
It was more a Flintstones thing.
The internal carrot.
Feet down at the bottom.
Yeah, the internal carrot combustion engine.
Internal carrot combustion engine. That's right. So Bill is talking about his hatred for Jeff Gordon. He says, I bet he could be NASCAR's top money winner, too, if my daddy had bought me a quarter midget car instead of, corrective shoes that all the girls laughed at.
Yeah.
Did you ever have any of those kids in your class with a big shoe? You know what I'm talking about?
Forrest Gump. Yeah, like the Forrest Gump type.
Not that.
Oh, you're talking about
the one shoe that's bigger than the other.
Where they had their body was like where their legs was kind of stunted. No, there was nobody that I went to school with, but I've seen I've seen that before.
Yeah. I had a kid in my class that had one of those, but he also brought a briefcase to school. You know, that kind of kid that.
Oh, carries briefcases?
Yeah, carries a briefcase.
We had a few of those. Satchels, too. The satchel carriers.
He collected typewriters. He had a typewriter collection.
Oh, that's crazy.
He used to use his typewriter to write up things and bring them to school and pass them out to everybody. He had a list of sayings that he would... So the guy was ahead of his time. Don't get me wrong.
What an era to grow up in, though.
He's
wow. I missed out.
He's typing out this whole page and handing it out to each person in the class. Right?
It's dedication.
It's got all these sayings that he's come up with. So
you didn't ever keep any of them?
I do have that list somewhere.
Oh wow.
But I only remember a few of them. It's like he was trying to invent catchphrases. Right?
Oh, okay. He was trying to start fads with a list. He said, "Guys, these are the approved catchphrases. Pick a couple. Let's see what works." He was workshopping with you. I like it. Way ahead of his time, though.
One of them was, "I am developing powerful muscles that enable me to sit for 7 full hours without tiring."
What?
That was one of them.
Oh wow!
There was one that too many chefs in the kitchen make the people round. It was an entire list of these things. Man.
Oh wow, that's great.
Something.
That's actually gold.
It was super gold.
Gold.
Do
you know whatever became of him? Like what he does for a living?
You remember the Lions Park here? Remember when Lions Park was over there by Waco High?
Oh, the one they just tore out. Yeah, off of Bosque.
So Lions Park is it was a little park we had here that had like little fair rides. Had a little tiny roller coaster. Had at one time had a big
super slide. Yeah.
Well, it had a big swimming pool. Had the big super slide. Yeah, the kind that you get in a potato sack and go down.
The swimming pool was before my time, but we did the slide. We were the last generation on the slide because the slide it was very dangerous as hell.
Oh my God! Dangerous. It was a giant metal slide.
Well, and if you slipped off of the burlap and it was summer and you slid down it,
you're gonna burn
guaranteed.
yourself. Burn.
And that was what the problem was, is people were getting like injured like that.
So he ended up as the conductor for the tiny train that went around the park.
He was the conductor
He
that
was
went
the
around
conductor for the tiny train.
That's perfect, though.
It was. It really
That's
was. It was
perfect.
kind of the perfect job. Yeah,
because he could use his catchphrases all day.
He would dress up in the conductor suit with the hat and the whole thing.
Oh, that's
toot,
awesome.
toot, out the little train and all that.
Man,
Yeah. It was something else.
what a time to be alive.
Now the pool.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. This is completely.
No,
but
we're good,
the pool at Lions Park, one of my best friends, he shut that pool down because he jumped off of the high dive, and there wasn't enough water in the pool. He went down, hit his head, broke his neck, ended up in one of those halos for a year.
Yeah.
And they had to pay him.
I'll pay out.
Yeah, and so that was like the final straw for the pool.
Because they couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
They couldn't even afford to pay out.
So those are my two. Those are my two ties.
So anybody from town that's listening to this, just know that it was a buddy of Mike's that started the domino effect that destroyed our beloved Kittyland. It's called Kittyland,
and ultimately put the conductor out of business.
I hope wherever he's at, he's able to spread these quips, and I hope he's still doing it on typewriter too.
I am developing powerful muscles that enable me to sit for 7 full hours without tiring. That was probably 5th grade, and I still remember that.
Wow,
isn't that amazing?
That is.
Yeah, that was 100 years ago.
That is great.
Okay, so after Bill tells us how much he hates Jeff Gordon, Hank comes back and says, yeah, his father didn't do it.
That's where we went, was from Jeff Gordon
to the Lions pool
shutting down. Okay.
Hank says, yeah, his father didn't do him any favors. I tell you what, my dad didn't buy me a car when I turned 16. He sold me one, and it was a lemon.
Taught me the value of $1.
Cotton sold him a lemon. And so Bobby comes riding up and he says, hey, Dad, could you please sign this check? I already filled it out for you. That's nuts to me that Bobby has a check that he's taken from Hank. So he's gotten it out of his checkbook.
You know what it is,
filled it out.
It's like the kids today that have their parents' credit card in their wallets.
I guess, man. I don't know.
I've never experienced such a phenomenon ever in the entirety of my life.
This just seems
if you've ever had your parents' credit card, wallet, cash in your pocket or bank account that you didn't earn, go ahead and give us a DM on social media. I would like to hear your story.
Yeah. Well, I did have a gas card that my parents gave me one time. And
I had a gas can that was empty, and they told me if I ran out of gas, walk to the gas station, and if I don't have any money to get gas, I'm a teenage boy, ask somebody and somebody will rescue you. And I was like, oh, that's great.
I did figure out which gas stations had the best stuff, though, because you could put anything on those gas cards.
You can.
Yeah.
You can.
My friends ate well. Bobby, what confuses me is that he's gotten a check from Hank, which it seems like Hank would have that stuff locked up.
Yeah,
tight,
no.
You know,
I bet you he's got his own like Bobby on the check.
You would think so.
It probably says on the check. It probably has Hank, Peggy, and Bobby Hill.
Maybe so.
Or Bob, as he's called sometimes, yeah.
He says, hey, Dad, could you please sign this check? I already filled it out for you. Hank says, pay to the order of the bike barn, $175. Bobby says, oh, it's for a new BMX bike. Well, number one, Bobby, you don't need a BMX bike.
Yeah,
I don't see Bobby doing any BMX stuff. Same guy who shut down the pool. No, sorry, different guy.
Okay, different guy.
I know a BMX guy, too. So Hank says, you just expect me to sign this? Bobby's like, yeah,
I think you have to, or it doesn't work. He goes,
or it doesn't
Bobby,
work.
these aren't magic tickets.
Yeah, he's trying to tell Bobby, he's trying to teach him the value of $1.
Teach him the value of $1.
I get it.
Which ends up being the theme of this episode,
Sure.
but it also means that if you want to teach your teenager the value of $1, at least know who they're working for.
That's right. So he says, Bobby, these checks aren't magic. They represent real money that I, and to a lesser extent your mother work real hard to earn. Bobby's argument is, well, you can write it whenever you want. Hank says, my point is, you don't just get money because you ask for it. You want to end up like Jeff Gordon. He says,
I like Jeff
Gordon. He's handsome.
Yeah.
It's not a good argument. Yes, everybody would like to end up like Jeff Gordon.
Yeah.
He says, Bobby, you joke around like that in public, people are going to think you ain't right.
That's another thing that he was known for too, is like wrecking into the finish line.
Yeah.
Where a lot of guys, they couldn't like afford to wreck their cars
Right.
because it could, like some of those pro drivers, they're barely there. They're not at a point where they're making millions of dollars. You know, they're
Right,
barely they're paying out of pocket to be there, kind of thing. And he would just wreck his car because he would drive recklessly because he had the money to afford a new vehicle. If he wrecked tomorrow, he'd be on the track in a brand new car on Sunday, kind of thing.
I can definitely see why that would be.
And he would
thing.
have backup cars too. That would piss people off too,
because that is 100% a blue collar crowd.
Yeah, well, there used to be allowed, if you wrecked a car out, you go back. If you had a spare car that day to drive, you could go get your spare car and drive. So he would do stuff like that, but he was a talented driver, so he would still place.
Yeah,
and it would piss people off because they're like, well, if I wrecked, I'd be done for the day.
Golden child kind of thing.
That's what it is. Yeah. But he was talented.
Bill says, "Hey guys,
talented.
little help here." He's trying to get out of the car.
Yeah,
and all that
he's
happens
chunky.
is Dale comes over and gives him his beer.
That's it. He just
Thank you
kind of
very much.
accepts his fate. Yeah.
So we're back in the Hill kitchen, and Peggy is emptying the fly trap, which I've never seen. I don't think we ever see again.
I don't think I've ever seen again. Yeah,
lot of flies in the trap. And Peggy says, "But Jeff Gordon is handsome and he's a great champion." Leanne's like, "He's the world's fastest Christian."
Yeah,
that's a wonderful line.
That's wild. Yeah.
Hank says he's a bad influence on our son. Bobby thinks the world is just going to be handed to him. He has no concept of the value of $1. Watch, Bobby, come here, son. How much do you think these shorts you're wearing cost? He says, I don't know. They're pretty nice. $100. $100 for shorts.
Yeah, he doesn't understand.
Hank says, $100 for a pair of cotton short pants. Cotton short pants. What do you think the average salary is in this country? Bobby says, well, Jim Carrey makes $20 million a movie. Hank's like, oh, you see that? He doesn't even know the difference between $20 million and $20,000. You know, Bobby, they say old Buck Strickland started out with nothing but a single dollar, and now he's at the top of the propane ladder. The propane ladder. Bobby, here's $1. See what you can turn it into. So he just hands him $1.
Hands him
he's
a buck.
Like, go open a lemonade stand. I think in Hank's mind, he's going to get real industrious or whatever. But $1, really?
Well, we got to remember the time that we're in here, Mike. Back when I was a youngster, even me, I even got to experience something almost similar to what you guys got to experience with your nickel Cokes and things like that. I used to be able to take $1.
I don't remember a nickel Coke.
Well,
okay.
I don't.
Sure.
Well, you're not that old. Sorry.
I get it. Yeah.
But I remember I would get $1 bill, or we'll go even further back. We'll take it to the old country. I used to get a pound coin from my great grandpa.
Yeah.
And I'd go to the corner store, and I don't remember what all I bought with that coin, but I remember it used to be enough to fill a sack with the pound coin or the pound or the dollar note. I would have, I'd go down to be 5 cents for this or 10 cents for that.
Yeah.
It was like a quarter for a soda,
Yeah.
And now you go with $1, you might be able to get some of the little square Chanel chicles, the colored chicles off of the counter that have probably been sitting there for like 8 years.
$1 ain't buying you much.
No, not anymore.
It's not buying you much. So next thing we see, Hank pulls up in front of the house, which is weird to me also that he doesn't pull into the driveway.
Yeah, it's kind of odd.
Which, again, I think they have 2 driveways. I think there's one in the front and one in the back. But anyway.
That's weird, though, for the driveways. Like, so does that mean that if he opens up all his garage doors, he can just go straight through?
That's kind of what I'm thinking,
But it
right?
doesn't look, but see, that might be a continuity thing then, because when you see the wall in the garage, you see all the tools on the wall.
Yeah.
So there's no like flow through. So I don't know, it's kind of weird. Unless he's got
nice new
2 garages though.
Too.
What if he's got 2 garages? One in the front, one in the back.
I don't think so.
I don't either.
I think it's just
ranch style home. Yeah, continuity.
So Hank pulls up in front of his own house. Bobby is hunched over, kind of struggling with something right there in front of the front door on the porch.
I was struggling like hell, yeah.
And he says, "What are you doing, son? Do you use that $1 to start a shoe shine business?" Bobby turns around. He's got just crap all over his mouth. "Bobby," he says, "you almost made me drop it." And Bobby has a sack full of tacos.
And
a giant burrito.
Like, I'm really impressed with the amount of food
he bought
that
a lot for a buck.
So Hank getting on to him here and talking about a value of $1. He understood the value of that $1 and found a value menu and got him a value meal.
He did. He says, "Is this what you spent your $1 on?" He goes, "No, I also got a quesadilla. It's from the value menu."
And a quesadilla?
I know. That's what I'm saying. He's holding a giant burrito. Anyway, he's got a bag of tacos, got sauce all over his mouth. He never wipes the sauce off of his mouth, which really bothered me.
He left the sauce all over his face.
He's got sauce all over his face, yeah. Peggy comes out the front door. She says, well, thank you, Hank. Your plan certainly backfired. You spoiled his appetite. Hank says, oh, I guess I was wrong, but I'll get through to him. There's a way in there. I know there is. Maybe it's time Bobby got a job.
Uh-oh.
Peggy said, no, Hank, it's his vacation. He's just a boy. He should be doing boyish things.
You know, not only that, I just didn't understand why, like, if he really wanted to do good by his son, wouldn't he just have said, hey, come to my work with me. Yeah. I'll get you a little extra money.
Right,
you make a couple of, and that way he could put him on a payroll. He could, because it teaches him more. Because I know a lot of teenagers. When I was working in the fast food industry in my early 20s, there was a lot of teenagers, 16, 17-year-old kids that would come in there thinking, oh yeah, my check's gonna be big. They get that check, and
$98.
First time they meet the tax man, they're like, "Oh, what's this?" They come in pissed. They're like, "Oh, well, all I made was $110 for 2 weeks." I said, "Well, you only worked 10 days. You only worked like 5 days, right. And he was like, "Well, it was supposed to be this much." Like, no, that's called taxes, bud. Welcome to the real world.
No kidding. When I was a kid, my dad brought me into the business and had me make saddles for TV antennas.
Saddles for TV antennas.
So it's two pieces of metal that you put together, then you hammer the thing together, and it's the little harness that holds up a TV antenna on top of your roof.
That sounds like some really good character building.
It sucked.
It sucked. They built character though.
It was rough.
You have a great work ethic, Mike.
I remember I turned on the radio and I was listening to whatever the popular music was at the time, and I was so far like in the back of this place, it seemed like it was like a dungeon kind of thing, that the radio signal wouldn't even come and go.
Oh wow.
It's like the radio signal was against me too. So she says, Bobby, how would you like to go to cooking school? Bobby says, I'm listening. Hank said, Bobby, I know we've never talked about this, but someday I'm gonna die.
Oh wow!
And when that happens,
it got real heavy real fast.
Well, he says, then you can go to cooking school. He's got to wait for Hank to die.
Yeah, got to wait for Hank to die to do anything he wants to do.
Boomhauer pulls up. He says, come on, Bobby, you're coming with me to the racetrack. And so they are off to Arlen Speedway. They get to the Speedway, which is a big racetrack, by the way.
Yeah.
It's really big for Arlen.
Yeah, well, it makes me think of Texas Motor Speedway.
It does. It kind of feels that way because Texas Motor Speedway, honestly, is in a smaller town.
Smaller spot. It's not a big area.
Yeah, it's not a big
really
area.
Big town.
Yeah. I guess you have to have a big open space to have something like that.
You have to. Well, because I worked with a guy who was a dirt track race driver. Mm-hmm. His son was a dirt race driver, mm-hmm. and they used to go to a lot of NASCAR races and stuff like that. And he said that, like, at the camping areas where they camp at before the NASCAR events, where they'll camp for like 3 days for the NASCAR event or whatever. Mm-hmm. He said it is like something out of a like Bacchus, like Roman mythology, is how god awful that it can get. It's like almost like It's like Sturgis and stuff like that, where it's just
Lord of the Flies
nudity,
kind of stuff,
drugs, alcohol.
I'm
sex,
sure, man.
Rock and roll, violence.
You put a bunch of people in tents for an extended period
of
time.
You got to think of your demographic, too. Yeah, NASCAR, I'm not hating on NASCAR fans, but there's a lot of cold beers being drank.
There's a lot of beer.
A lot of...
maybe not so cold beers.
Not so cold. Just beer. Yeah. Alcohol content.
There's a lot of alcohol being consumed, I would imagine.
For sure, yeah.
So we're at the Arlen Speedway, and Hank says, well, Bobby, what do you think? And they are looking at the official pace car for the Arlen... Here's a continuity thing.
Okay.
This is the official pace car for the Arlen 200. Later on, it gets called the Arlen 100.
Oh, okay.
So they are looking at the car. It is behind these like ropes that you see at red carpet events or whatever. And Bobby says the rope is soft and pretty.
Yeah, the rope is,
Hank is like, look at the pace car, Bobby, not the rope. It's what Boomhauer gets to drive if he wins the amateur race. Bobby says, what's a pace car? He says, well, it's a car that all the other drivers have to stay behind at the beginning of a race or whenever there's a crash. If Boomhauer wins, he'll have the honor of driving on the same track as Dale Earnhardt, or as you'd look at it, with Jeff Gordon.
And the actual pace car or whatever that they're discussing is a 1996 Dodge Viper GTS.
Is it really?
Yeah, so actually the episode has a continuity issue. So the continuity issue here is the pace car that they had there for a NASCAR race was actually the official pace car of the 1996 Indy 500, not NASCAR. So that was just some weird,
Wait, Indy 500 is not NASCAR?
Indy 500 is not NASCAR.
See, I don't know anything about it.
Well, you have F1.
Yeah, I know F1.
F1 has F2 and F3. They have like different brackets.
Really? There's a 2 and a 3.
Well, those are like the
F2. This time it's personal.
You're upcoming. Like if you're an upcoming racer, you race in F3 and then F2, and then if you're good enough, you get to race with the big dogs.
So
in
it's kind of like soccer, and how they
have their
they
have the different clubs and stuff. Yeah, like especially in like the Premier League. Yeah.
All right. By the way, we're at the Arlen Speedway, and we see all the racers, the guys that are going to be racing. We see the cars. Manitoba Cigarettes is featured on one of the cars.
Yep, Manitoba Cigarettes.
Then we see the guys standing there, and they're looking at a big board that lists the trucks, the sportsman, and the street stock.
Yep.
So those are the 3 different kinds of races they're going to have. Anyway, he explains to him that the pace car is something that, as he would look at it, Jeff Gordon has to drive behind. Bobby says, Jeff Gordon's race car driver too? I thought he was just a cereal box model.
And I had to correct myself real fast.
Yeah.
Earlier on, I said that Cop had a mustache.
He did not.
He did not.
Yeah.
But he is voiced by Mike Judge.
Yes. You could
that
tell
was the voice
that was
actor is Mike Judge.
Yeah, you could definitely
because we had a
tell
couple of there's a couple of voices in this one because you do get I'll wait till we get to his voice.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't interrupt you.
So we see a soda kid who is not looking great, by the way.
No, he's looking rough, and it's rough stuff. I've never done NASCAR, but I used to at the Floyd Casey Stadium right after high school. I knew some of the people that had something to do with the concessions. And you go up there, and they give you credit. They give you all these sodas. Hey, this is how much they are. You sell them for this much. You make this much money after you sell this many sodas.
It is kind of a racket.
It is, but I was smart enough to know that the only thing that those people in them stands wanted, there were a bunch of old, rich white people. They wanted Diet Dr. Pepper or water.
Really?
So I would stuff my little ice deal that you carried around your neck with nothing but waters and Diet Dr. Peppers. So I was selling out every time I would go out, and then you would see kids going back with like 5 or 6 sodas selling. They're like, well, nobody wanted Coke. I was like, well, duh. I said they're older white folks. They want water or diet soda. So I took nothing but diet sodas. I would go all the way to the top too, where they wouldn't go to the very top. And I would sell to the whole top row. And some people up there, they respect the fact that you walked all the way up there. So you're getting like, hey, here's $50 for $1 soda. Keep the change.
That is a tough ass job.
I'd make a killing doing it. It really is good money. If you have the hustle for it, you could make $300-$400 in 2 quarters.
That stuff is not light.
It's not.
It's heavy.
But I would only work the first and second quarter and make $300 or $400, and then I would sit down. And then I would sit down and watch 2 quarters of game. Yeah, wore out calves killing me.
So this kid comes by. He's like, "Hey, soda's here. Get your sodas." Hank says, "Hey, I'll take one. Nice hustle, son." Says, "I can rest when I'm dead, sir." This poor kid.
Yeah, poor kid. You hear that, Bobby? That's a good attitude. I hate that mentality. That's a good attitude.
So the kid says, "That's what Mr. Wichard told us. He's my boss." Hank says, "Maybe someday you can land a job like this." Soda kid says, "Why not today?"
Yeah.
And so something's up. Hank says, "Mr. Wichard, I wonder if you have an opening for my son Bobby here." So they're standing outside of the refill shack.
Well, if you want it for Jimmy, you got to work hard. People up there are hot and dry.
Jimmy is something else.
They want something cold and wet. You do your job, you make money, but you work hard.
People up there are hot and dry. He says, that's the way you work if you work for Jimmy. I love how Jimmy Wichard is always talking in the third person.
He is.
He's Jimmy does this, Jimmy does that.
That has to be a sign of like a mental disorder or something.
Oh, yeah. So Hank says, "So if I understand you correctly, you're saying you're going to teach my boy the value of $1. Jimmy says, "If you work for Jimmy, you're going to work hard. You're going to make money. People are hot and dry." He just keeps repeating the same stuff.
But
that's what's nuts about him.
As a father myself, that's about Bobby's age. Like my kid's about Bobby's age right now. So I just couldn't see from that interaction there that this is
No, I wouldn't.
okay.
No,
I would be like, nah, son,
Yeah. There's something
we're
wrong with
gonna
this
find
kid.
you a paper route or
right.
something. A
That's
paper
right.
route is way less dangerous than this.
Yeah, anything other than working for this doofus.
Shucking corn, something.
So Hank says, well, that sounds just fine. This is going to be a great experience for you, son. Bobby says, my dad told me if I worked hard, I could be another Buck Strickland. He's
Well, I don't know who in the hell Buck Strickland
he's
is.
talking to the soda kid. And the kid says he doesn't know who the hell Buck Strickland is, but his dad told him he couldn't leave until he found somebody to take his place.
We'll say it's another Hank Hill on the other end.
Oh, yeah.
For that poor kid.
He says, good luck, Bobby. You're going to need it. And the kid climbs over the fence to get the hell out of there.
And he's running for the hills. Yeah, he's gone.
done.
That's funny.
All right. So speaking of running for the hills, here is a commercial break, and we will be right back.
Hey everybody, it's Rusty with the King of the Hill podcast. Blah. So we are currently trying to win Podcast of the Year, and we're hoping that you guys could help us out by nominating us on Waco Awards website. If you Google Waco Awards Podcast of the Year, the hyperlink will pop up for you to click on Google's search. Also, on social media, I've posted about it quite a bit, so you guys can go to all of our social media platforms at Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and I have the link posted there on a few different posts, and help us, at least get nominated. If we can't win, it would be great to at least have a nomination in our first year of podcasting, and we hope that you guys have enjoyed the content and continue to enjoy the content for the rest of the year.
Well, we are back from commercial, and we have a little special thing here. Mason, the producer, is going to tell us how he got his first job. Since we're talking about these terrible jobs, and these poor kids hauling all these sodas around, Mason wanted to chime in. So, Mason, go for it, man.
Yeah, well, my job was first job was nowhere near as terrible as this.
Yeah,
but the way it happened, where Bobby gets his, is kind of similar to mine. So, I was around 15, 16, becoming a junior in high school. And I was I've had a really good life, and so
it sounds like it's over.
No, that's
He's
great.
Like, I've had a really good life.
That's great.
But I was getting to that point where my parents were tired of paying for stuff for me because I played video games. I liked reading books and comics. It's like, at a point, it's like, all right, Mason, now time to go get a job. Go figure it out.
Sure.
I'm tired of paying for you.
All right.
And then I say, okay, yeah, all right. And they keep asking me, are you applying at places? Are you applying at places? I wasn't.
Yeah,
I still know I was.
Sure.
And so one day, my dad and my stepmom picked me up, put me in the car. I was like, we're going to go to every little place, and you are going to go and ask for an application.
Oh, my gosh.
And you're going to print your resume, and you're going to go do it. I did it.
Your resume featuring what, though? I mean, you hadn't had a job.
That I go to school. That's pretty much all I could write. I was like, what the hell am I supposed to write?
That's a good
funny.
experience.
That's great.
And it was and then we went to like 4 places, and they dragged me into this place called Russo's New York Pizzeria. This was when we were in Houston.
Yeah.
And they were looking for a dishwasher, and I didn't even fill out an application. Just write your name and your phone number, and we might reach out to you.
That's because they cycled through so many people, I would imagine.
Yes, they did. They called me back 2 days later. Mason, would you like to start? It's like, oh, okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I did it for about 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then
Was it awful?
It wasn't terrible, but this is partly my stupidity, but my arms, their gloves were terrible and didn't work, and it was using like powerful soap. I was doing like big mixers and dishes and plates.
Soap.
I don't know. I'm stupid, so maybe I just doing it wrong. But my arms started to bleed and scrape and open up on my wrist.
No.
Both.
Well,
always
it's probably
itching.
too concentrated because the soap, if it's too concentrated, will tear you up.
Yeah, and I was the glove because gloves always tore, and so I just I was there for a few months, and then when I started my next job, that eventually healed. But I just want to share that story.
That's rough, man.
That was good. That was a good.
That's
story.
a great story. What was your next job?
A couple movie theaters.
Oh, yeah.
And then
that was a friggin' breeze compared to what you'd been doing then, right?
It was, yeah. Certain parts were days where, yeah.
Sure. That's awesome, man. Well, thanks for chiming in. You are welcome anytime. You're part of the Blah family.
Blah.
Much appreciated.
Yeah. So we are in the front yard of the Hill House, and Peggy is taking pictures because Bobby got a job.
Yep.
Bobby is all dressed up in his apron.
Yeah,
And I got to tell you, I want one of those hats. So the hat he's wearing is just a baseball cap, but it only has like a soda cup on it.
Oh yeah,
I want a soda cup hat.
Soda cup hat.
That'd be wonderful. But she says, "Oh, you look so good in that apron, like a cooking school professor." She says, "Say cheese." Bobby says cheese.
A chef?
A cooking school professor. I don't know.
A chef? Okay.
And Hank says, "Don't smile, son. You're a working man." So she keeps clicking the camera. She says, "All right, now remember, Bobby, if there's a crash on the track, here's the fun saver. Try to get me 2 angles."
Yeah.
Fun saver.
Well, that's another
I love
NASCAR joke.
that.
So that's what they say about NASCAR NASCAR fans.
Yeah.
A lot of people are only fans because they want to see the high velocity crashes.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. But I just love the fact that she has a camera called a Fun Saver. That's just, I love that.
The Fuji Fun Saver.
Was it a Fuji?
I mean,
Yeah, it should be.
It was a.
It is
if
now.
it wasn't, it definitely sounded good for marketing.
Sure. All right, so now we're back at the track. We hear the commentator or the guy.
Don't come a knocking because these trucks are rocking.
Yeah, you can tell that's the guy who does Dale's voice. Because it's
that
always
character's name actually is called Tug.
okay.
The guy that does the announcer voice.
All right.
And you do eventually get to see what Tug looks like.
Really?
He's in season 2, which we're in now. We've already seen him once. How to Fire a Rifle Without Really Trying episode.
Oh wow.
He was the announcer at the gun range.
Yeah, I remember the voice because it's always the same. Don't come a knocking. These
And
trucks
he's
are
in
rocking.
1 episode in season 3, 2 in season 5, and 2 in season 6. And you're right, it is Johnny Hardwick that does that voice.
Yeah, it's definitely Johnny Hardwick. You can tell.
And it says that his name is Tug. His job is event announcer, and his relatives are a Polynesian wife.
Okay. All right. So we see Bobby. He's all set. He's got his tray with drinks. He's got his soda hat. He's got his apron. And he looks over at the other soda boy and gives him a big thumbs up. And that kid looks like somebody has beat the tar out of him. He just looks
dog
like
mess
he
out of him.
hates this job. Yeah. So Bobby starts walking around. Soda. Hey, soda here. I got peanuts. Some guy calls for peanuts. Bobby tries to throw them up into the audience and hits a poor lady in the head with them.
Yep.
Then a guy at the very, very top of the bleachers says he wants a soda. So Bobby starts the long trek up the stairs, gets gum on his shoe. He is grunting and groaning. We know what kind of shape Bobby is in to begin with. He makes it almost all the way up. He puts his tray down and just crawls the rest of the way. Tries to hand the soda to the guy. The guy goes, "Is that diet?" He goes, "It's regular." Oh, sorry. And so Bobby is super defeated. He comes back down where he left his soda tray. All the sodas are gone.
Mm-hmm.
So he's lost every one of the sodas. Then we hear a big crash, and the last thing he does is he pulls out the Fun Saver and takes a couple pictures. Poor kid. He's sitting on the steps.
Defeated. I mean, I couldn't
Super
imagine
defeated.
losing money on your first day at work.
Well, he doesn't even know that he's lost money yet. He just knows he lost all the sodas. So we end up back at the refill shack. Jimmy is, "Hey, you want a hot dog?" Bobby, of course, being Bobby, is like, "Sure." He goes, "Okay, $4.50 for a jumbo dog and $20 for a tray of stolen drinks and the $28 you owed me. Now you owe me, you owe me $52.50, Tommy." I don't know why he's calling him Tommy.
The other kid's name was Tommy.
Okay. Oh, the original kid.
The original tray kid.
Gotcha.
And he doesn't. Your name is whatever the number is on this tray.
Sure.
It could be you, or it could be Mason. Anybody's got this. They're Tommy.
He says, "I'm not Tommy. I'm Bobby." He said, "You making fun of me?
You're tray 27, C27, Tommy.
He shows
Go
him in
sell some sodas, Tommy."
He shows him in the little book. He has a book that he pulls out. He also has a calculator on a.
I killed my throat doing that voice.
He also has a calculator on a thing around his neck.
Yeah, calculator
which is
around
nuts.
his neck.
Yeah. He gives him another tray of sodas. Bobby tries to go out. He trips and falls, spills all the sodas. Jimmy is like, oops, and that's it. He's just such a jackass. Now we are back at Boomhauer's house, and they are all working on the car feverishly.
Yeah, they're getting after it, man.
He says, Hank says, maybe it's time that we run some pit crew drills.
I think that's the most impressive part of a NASCAR race is how fast. To me, that's more driving. Don't get me wrong, that's a talent in with itself. What they do, especially the leaders at the top of the racetrack.
Turning left is tough.
Yeah, but turning left at 170, 80 miles an hour, inches off of other cars. But the pit crews, how fast they could take 4 tires off.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes they make adjustments, too. They don't just take tires off. They make, different adjustments on the front end and suspension and stuff like that, and they do it so fast.
It's amazing that stuff can happen and a guy can still win a race. I mean, think about that.
There's a school for it.
Oh, really? Pit crew school?
There's like a pit crew, they have to go through an educator course for it. Yeah,
I would think there'd have to be. So he says, maybe it's time for us to run some pit crew drills. You see Hank put the number 26 on the side of the car. They're washing the car. They're doing everything they need to. He says, Bill, you clean the windows. Bill's like, aye. He says, Dale and I will take tire duty. He says, okay, go. And Boomhauer is timing him on a stopwatch. This is when this is weird to me. We get this montage of all this stuff happening to the car.
It reminds me of
what?
The Go Grease Lightning, where they're all scrambling around in the video, dancing around the car. Yeah.
But that same song, Soul City by Southern Culture on the Skids, is playing. Okay. And then Dale gets hung on one of the tire lugs, and
timeout.
They have to take a timeout. He says, "Man attach." And Boomhauer looks at the stopwatch, and he's really disappointed.
You're only as strong as your weakest link.
Well, he's really disappointed because they took 22 seconds. Which I have no reference as to whether that's good or bad.
I talk all this knowledge about NASCAR, and I have no reference to that either.
No idea what a good pit crew
I don't even
does.
know what a good pit crew time is.
So
I just know it's impressive when you see it in action, watching a race.
Oh, yeah.
Or if you're physically at the race and you're watching them do it, and you're right there by the pit crew.
Super impressive. Yeah,
it's crazy.
I thought I had extra notes here, but that's just cheese oil from my popcorn I had earlier.
Okay, cheese oil from the popcorn. That's a note. Note taken. Mike likes cheesy popcorn.
Cheesy popcorn. What's all we had?
Christmas is coming up, guys.
That's
Mike
all
likes.
We had. Yeah.
Well, if all you have at home is cheesy popcorn, send all your cheesy popcorn to Mike.
I'll take some cheesy popcorn in a heartbeat.
P.O. Box 123 Rainy Street. Yeah.
So we're back at the refill hut. Bobby is like, Mr. Witchard. And he opens the door, and there's Jimmy sitting in a hot dog suit.
Watching TV.
He's watching TV. He says, Mr. Witchard, I think I'm ready to go. And he said, okay, you owed me $68. $68 in trays.
$68.
You paid me $72, but you also owed me $40 for a total of you owing me $8,888.88. And he shows him the stupid calculator, and it's all
blinking.
Just 8s.
Yeah, it's just blinking. It's like a default, the battery fell out, and he pushed it back in, and it's just blinking, wait for a reset.
It's like the front of a VCR, just flashing,
I like this scene here. So we switch to Hank sitting outside.
It's weird because he's got his guitar.
He's got a guitar. What is his guitar's name?
That's something you never see. I don't remember the guitar's name.
Lucky, maybe.
Lucky.
Probably not Lucky.
I think it is Lucky, isn't it?
Artie. Come on,
Artie, what's the name of that guitar?
Let me know, man, and I'll.
Mason, do you know the name of his guitar?
Do you know the name of Hank?
He does not. He doesn't know.
No, he doesn't know.
So Hank is on the back porch. He's got his cooler. He's got a guitar out. Ladybird's sitting at his feet. He's just kind of strumming on the guitar. Bobby rides up on his bike. He says, well, hey, there's our working man. Hey, Bob, grab a root beer. Yep. And you hear silence from Bobby. He says, you can say yep, too. You've earned it.
Yeah.
Dad, I want to quit. And that makes Hank spit out his beer.
What? Quit?
Yeah, it's rough.
It's horrible, Dad. It's hot. The tray is heavy. My boss is really mean.
Well, the funny thing is, before he even starts saying that, Hank takes the root beer away from him. Like he's punishing him.
No, he is punishing him. You can't enjoy a cold beverage if you have not.
Yeah.
You got to earn it.
He says, it's horrible. It's hot. The tray is heavy. My boss is really mean. He calls me Tommy, and he watches TV in a hot dog. I think he might be a moron.
Yeah. Well, that's what I used to ask my dad. I was like, why do you stand outside in the summer and drink beer when it's hot?
Yeah.
And you're just like pouring sweat.
Yeah, sure.
He goes, well, if I'm not sweating, I don't feel like I've earned the beer.
Sure.
I was like, okay, all right.
Sure, I get that. So this is the first time that Bobby says he thinks that Jimmy Wichard might be a moron.
Yeah.
Hank says, now, Bobby, I know your first day was hard, but don't call your boss names. That's acting like a baby. Babies want everything handed to them, but you're there to work and not play. That's why it's called work and not play. And if you don't understand that, well, son, maybe you're the moron.
Yeah, he just...
Bobby's just like, okay.
Okay, all right, Dad. Have you seen this guy? He wears a chain around his neck with a calculator on it. You know,
He
like,
says,
I would have been like, I would have probably argued with my dad. Like,
Oh my God,
I
yeah,
very
me too.
rarely ever argued with my dad.
Yeah.
But if I knew that I was
Over
right,
a-
dead to rights, like if we had to drive somewhere to like prove a point,
Yeah.
and he had to prove it to me
Yeah.
that I was wrong, and I knew I was right, I was
Yeah.
going to argue till like,
I would
I got
definitely
hit.
argue with my dad over a Jimmy Wichard. You
oh,
know?
Jimmy Wichard.
Oh,
Oh,
my
for
God.
sure. I'll be like, hey, Dad, don't just trust me, Dad. Just trust me.
Mhm.
Just
Yeah.
once you see this guy,
Yeah.
you'll know. But the fact is,
You
Hank's-
can just look at Jimmy
Hank
Wichard
met
and you
him.
know what the hell is
Hank
up.
met him.
I know.
Like, I
But-
don't want to assume things,
Hank-
but I would assume that the guy's on something.
The guy's just a total moron in a hot dog suit. So Hank is like, there you go. Now what you need are a few pointers on salesmanship. Remember, a good salesman always says yes to the boss. Well, that's wrong. He approaches every task with a can-do attitude, and when things get tough, he shrugs it off and sings a happy tune. Bobby says, this is that thing about me giving 110%, right?
Yeah.
Bobby, if you weren't my son, I'd hug you.
If you weren't my son,
little rough.
I'd hug you.
So we are back at the refill shack, and Bobby now has his can-do attitude.
That's actually one of those iconic Hank Hill lines, though.
If you weren't my son, I'd
if you
hug
weren't
you.
my son, I'd
Yeah.
hug you. Yeah, that's a pretty good line.
Bobby says, that's tray number 3, Mr. Wichard. And Jimmy is in there just filling up sodas. Bobby says, I'm giving 110%. You know, I have to admit, at first, I didn't think you were the best boss. I'm the boss.
I'm the boss. He didn't
said-
even hear what he's saying.
That's
He
right.
doesn't know anything of what's going on.
He
Completely
goes,
oblivious.
he goes, I know. My dad set me straight, and I'm going to be the best worker you've ever had. You work for me. He's just such
we got
an
to
idiot.
chime in from Artie here. All right,
Yeah.
Artie, I see your message here.
What's he got?
It says the guitar's name is Betsy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
Betsy. Good job, Artie. Thank you so much. Man, our Bois family is really growing. We got Mason on one side. We got Artie checking facts. Man, this is something else.
Yeah, it's getting good.
Yeah. And so he says, you work for me. He goes, you bet I do. You're going to see a whole new Tommy today. He's even okay with him calling him Tommy. He says, how would you like to be my go-to guy? He goes, that's me. He said, okay, first you go to the men's room and mop out the urinals.
The urinals.
He says
Yeah, the
urinals.
urinals.
Then you go to my cigarettes in my car. Then you go back here. He says, can do. And boy, Bobby is on it. He's the best employee ever at this point.
Yeah, he's on it, man.
He is
Hustler.
he's the hot dog boy.
Well, that's how all of our dads taught us to work.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it don't
Yeah, I
matter
know.
that they're not paying you what you're
know.
worth. Just do whatever the hell you're told to do. Put your head down and get your money. Don't worry about what the other guy next to you is making.
It's almost-
I never understood that because, like, I was a firm, but like I was at M&M's for only like 5 years. There was
Yeah.
this dude that had been there like 16.
Yeah.
That I used to have to like go and help him fix his machines and
Right,
stuff and get his
right.
stuff running.
Yeah.
And he was making double what I was making. And like my dad always was like, oh, you never discuss money at work. And I'm like, no, you need to discuss money at work. That way you know you're getting paid what you're worth. And
Yeah, that's
it's
never
actually
been
against
a
the
thing.
law for them to like coerce you into not discussing money because it's a labor laws protect you and you're supposed to discuss what you earn so everybody knows they're getting paid fairly.
Remember that, folks.
There you go.
There's a message from the Bois family. We're back in Boomhauer's driveway. They're pushing the car on a trailer. I've never seen a trailer that
Never
Hank
seen a
owns,
trailer.
but
No.
great.
Wonder where they store it. Maybe all this stuff belongs to.
It could be all Boomhauer's.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think it's probably in his garage.
Yeah, probably.
Bobby comes riding up on the bike, and he says, Dad, your advice really worked. Mr. Wichard promoted me to the go-to guy. Hank is super proud. Wow, I hope you still return my phone calls.
Yeah.
Bobby says, you got any other success tips for me? Boy, Hank is just brimming with success tips. He says, well, here's a great one. Find the job that nobody wants and then do it better. Bobby says, I'll do it better. He says, you're the go-to guy.
Yeah.
Find a job that nobody wants and do it better.
Oh, do it 10 times better than anybody. Yeah.
That's a good way to clean bathrooms, is what that is.
For nothing.
We are back at the Arlen Speedway, and all the guys are in their orange jumpsuits because they are the pit crew. And Bill is very excited. He says he's excited. He's exciting. This is exciting. I'm excited.
I'm excited, yeah.
Hank says, well, we'll get excited when Boomhauer takes that checkered flag. Right now, we got a job to do. And then it transitions over to Dale. We're looking at the air tools, and he blows his hat right off. Yeah. So he's right there with it. The green flag goes down. The race starts, and then we see Jimmy and Bobby in the dumpsters.
They're jumping up and down on the dumpsters.
Well, just Bobby is. Yeah, because he's telling
Bobby
him.
Anyway,
he's telling him, smash it down good, Tommy. Smash it down. Smash good.
Yeah,
good.
I
said, don't be afraid of them bottles. They pop
good. Make them pop good.
Make them pop.
Which I imagine is just a bunch of glass bottles.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Which is dangerous. Well,
can you even imagine?
Thinking it... yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay, so it's not even plastic bottles he's jumping on. He's jumping on glass.
Yeah, it's glass.
So, yeah,
bottles.
like, not
don't
only...
be afraid of them bottles.
Don't be afraid of those bottles.
Make them pop.
What the hell, man? Come on, Jimmy Witchard.
Jimmy Witchard some more.
I want to hear some Jimmy Witchard stories, guys. If y'all have any Jimmy Witchard stories.
I just want a shirt that says Jimmy Witchard is a moron. That would be a wonderful shirt.
That'd be great for merch.
Great shirt. Yeah. All right, so we're back at the race. We see all the cars going around real fast, and a yellow car with a license plate that says "Entrap," which is the cop guy that was racing Boomhauer. Yep. He is hitting Boomhauer's car, trying to move him out of the way.
He's kind of racing dirty, which
he
is
racing dirty. Yeah,
I want to say that the cop is a euphemism for Dale Earnhardt. Which you do get to see Dale Earnhardt does appear actually in this episode, but I want to say that the way this cop is acting is
Dale Earnhardt or the other one?
No, Dale Earnhardt.
Oh, okay.
Because Dale Earnhardt was known for being a wild. He would wreck people out and stuff.
Really?
Like he was. Yeah, he was the. He was one of the good old boys. You know, the good old boys. You know, he's just one of those dudes, and he was known for being cutthroat.
Really?
And he just didn't give a shit. So he would, where Jeff Gordon was like the poster child, you know what I mean? Like the Wheaties box guy.
Well, he was the cereal box guy.
He was he was the cereal box guy. Dale Earnhardt did get on cereal boxes, but he was one of those guys that you would consider unmarketable in today's society. Yeah. Like in today's world, Dale Earnhardt as he existed back then doesn't exist today.
So Bill is very excited in the pit, and he wants to bring him in. He asks Hank, can we bring him in? Can we bring him in? His windows look pretty dirty. The pit crew's cheering. Hank says, well, he's probably low on gas. I'll set the flag. He holds up the number 26 sign.
They just want to do something.
Yeah. He holds up the number 26 sign to bring him in. Bill says, hey, remember to keep Dale away from, everything.
Everything.
Hank says, I'll get the gas, check the tires and suspension. Bill says, I'll get the windows. Boomhauer pulls in. Hank says, Dale, here's a bucket of sand. Hold it with both hands.
That's great. I love that. No, I love that.
Just to keep him from doing something. Dale says, Hank, what am I supposed to do with this sand? It's slipping, Hank. Never mind. I don't know what happened to the sand, but he just says, never mind. Bill is cleaning those windows, and we see Hank say, all set, Boomhauer. Go, go, go. I think we did it, Bill. We kept Dale from screwing it up. Bill. He looks around. There's no Bill. Bill is still in the back of Boomhauer's car cleaning windows as Boomhauer takes off. And that's not great. Boomhauer's like, dang old, wait up, man. So he's weighted down the car, causing what we can assume is a bad thing for Boomhauer.
That is a bad thing. You don't want a heavy car when you're trying to race.
So we're back with Witchard and Bobby, and he says he's talking to another drink kid. And he says, you saying no? You can't say no to the boss. I'm the boss. And he shows him the calculator and says, see? As if
See,
that's
I'm
proof.
the boss.
That's the proof of him being the boss. He has a calculator.
Whoever like conned him into having that job probably gave him the calculator and told him, "Hey, you're the boss. Here's this calculator, bro."
It's like his little sheriff thing or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
He says, "So you put on the hot dog suit, you." The kid says, "No way, you put it on," and he walks away. Bobby, crawling out of the dumpster at this point, says, "I'll do it, Mr. Witchard." He says, "How come you keep wanting to do things nobody wants to do?" He says, "Because I've got a can-do attitude, boss. My dad said there's no limit to what a guy can do with a can-do attitude can do. Maybe one day I'll even have your job." And that flips Jimmy a little bit.
Yeah, he doesn't like
"You're
that
after
at
my
all.
job?"
You're after my job? What are you? Yeah.
He says, "Yes, sir." And then Jimmy Witchard, as if to hold his position or show his authority, takes the calculator and puts it in his shirt so Bobby can't have his calculator. He said, "You put on the suit now."
You put on the suit. Yeah.
So Bobby has to put on the damn hot dog
he
suit.
puts on the hot dog suit.
Yeah, poor Bobby. We're back in the car, and Bill says, "Well, it looked to me like you could have cut that guy off in the last turn in fourth place. Is nothing to be ashamed of." Boomhauer is just super down in the dumps. Hank says, "Hang in there, Boomhauer. You may not get to open the race tomorrow, but if there are just 3 accidents, you still get to drive the pace car."
Yeah.
Dale says, "Oh, give it up, Hank. This man's dream is no more." And Boomhauer's face just sinks whenever he says that.
Boomhauer's pretty disappointed because he wants to drive that big bad Dodge Viper.
That's all he wants to do.
Which everybody in the 90s, that was the 90s hot car, was the Dodge Viper.
I don't think they even make the Viper anymore, do they?
Please don't.
Yeah,
it was a terrible car. I think it would look.
You know what's a
really
terrible car? And I know there's probably some listeners that have this car, but there is I think it's a Chevy truck, but it's like this little truck, and the bed is closed in on it, and you can only fit 2 people in the truck, and it's like lowered or whatever. It is the worst little truck I've ever seen in my life. I don't remember what it's called, but there is this tiny truck that they make that's all one piece kind of thing.
Yeah,
and it's just God, I hate that car. That and those what are the ones that have the paneling on the side of them? That
you talking about the wood panel vans,
the PT Cruisers. Oh,
the PT Cruisers. Yeah,
Cruisers. My goodness. Mason, you don't drive a PT Cruiser, do you?
No.
Okay, you were very low.
No.
There it is. There.
I used to date a girl that had a PT Cruiser, and I used to drive it all the time.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
The PT Cruiser was supposed to be like this really cool car, and the problem with
it just looked like a gigantic butt plug.
Well, the problem with it is they made too many of them. Like they should have made it kind of exclusive.
They didn't make it exclusive.
But they didn't. Boy, everybody had one. They did
production runs to make it like a family vehicle.
Every Karen in the world owned a PT Cruiser
at one point.
So he says, he's really pissed off about it.
That truck that you're talking about was called a Chevy SSR. It was a Super Sport Roadster.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Is that the truck? Hold on, let me make sure that's it. Is that it?
Yeah, man.
That's a
goofy truck.
The Chevy SSR.
Don't like it.
If you drive it. Chevy SSR, you're probably a prick.
Yeah, send me.
No,
send us hate mail. SSR owners.
SSR owners. Yeah.
So Bobby is having to put on the suit. Again, we're back at the car, and Boomhauer is really, really sad. Hank says, "We can't give up now. It's just the other day. My boy wanted to quit his job because it was too tough. And today, well, I think you know how the story ends up. Bobby Hill has become the go-to guy." And then we see Bobby in the stupid hot dog suit. People, I don't understand this crowd.
I don't understand this scene either. I have never I have been to 100,000 events in my life, and I've been places where there's all kinds of hot dogs.
I thought the mascots were popular.
Mascots are popular, but this right here, I don't know. I've never. It would be like the guy at Wiener Schnitzel that's standing outside saying, "Come and taste my wiener," and you're just like throwing stuff at him, like.
This poor kid wearing a hot dog suit.
I don't agree with it. I don't like this scene at all.
I thought maybe it's because he's technically not a mascot. He's just a dude selling stuff.
But
maybe because it's a boring. It was a boring.
Would you throw
race at that
point. Would you throw a warm cup of soda at a guy?
No.
You wouldn't do that for $4 hot dogs? Like, damn, $4 hot dogs?
Man.
No way. hurl your cup at him.
They're just laughing and jeering and throwing everything at him. It's terrible.
Yeah, they're being rough.
Poor kid.
They're being rough.
And,
Poor Tommy.
And Bobby is like, whenever I feel afraid, ow, a happy tune and no, ow. He's just getting hit and pummeled by stuff. We transition to Hank.
You know,
waiting.
that episode is like a euphemism for life.
Yeah.
You're just humming along and boom, man, you're just
People
taking
throw
all the
stuff
hits.
at your wiener.
You
Yeah.
just throw stuff at your
Life throws things at your wiener. Hank is now we see Hank. It's weird because Hank says it's 5:30 in the morning, but it's totally light outside. Hank is waiting on the truck bed. He's kind of looking at his watch. He's waiting for the guys to come pick him up, which I don't understand this either. But he says, Bobby, what are you doing up? It's 5:30 in the morning. Bobby says, Jimmy wants me to strain the bugs out of the fryer before the oil gets too hot.
Yeah.
Don't understand that either. Do it before you turn the oil on.
Yeah, so
But whatever.
Yeah. So he turns the fryers on at 5:45. So you better be there by
That's what I'm saying, right?
5:45 because if you get there any later than 5:45, the grease is going to be
Why
so hot it burns
early?
you.
When the hell does this race start?
Well, you gotta
Does it start at like 7 o'clock in the morning?
You gotta get the grease warmed up. You gotta get the grease hot. The
So-
calculator says grease hot. This many degrees.
Jimmy's one of those guys that spells out boobs on his calculator and shows it to
Yeah,
everybody. It's very
boobs.
funny.
Boobs.
Yeah, boobs.
Yeah.
So he says Jimmy wants him to strain the bugs out, and Hank says, well, you know what they say. Find your niche and that leads to riches.
Find what your niche is that leads to riches.
That's a dumb
and
saying.
riches lead to bitches.
And stitches. Bobby says, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Dad. Sometimes I still think Jimmy Wichert ain't right.
Yeah, that
He
boy
said,
ain't
no,
right.
Bobby. He said, but then I remember about the 110%. And Hank says, that's the spirit. Hank really needs to listen to Bobby in this one.
He does. He needs
Poor
to.
Bobby.
I don't know. I think this goes for all dads. Listen to your kids.
Yeah, sometimes they know.
It's, and I approach this even with like teachers.
Yeah.
So when I get phone calls from teachers and stuff, I like getting his side and like his version of the events
Right.
and their version of the events
Sure.
and seeing how they mesh up.
Well, the truth is in there somewhere
Between the two.
You know?
Well, he had a coach call the other day.
Yeah.
And the coach said, oh, well, he was playing on the computer, and I told him to get off the computer, and then I found him on his phone, and I took his phone away from him. I need you to talk to him for me. And I said, we'll talk when you get home. From
Yeah.
now on, just do whatever you're supposed to do, and I'll find out who's right and who's wrong when you get home. I'm not going to argue on a phone with you or a teacher.
No.
So he gets home, and he's like, well, Dad, I had all my work finished and everything. I said, well, your teacher didn't tell me that all your work was done, and you were playing a game on the computer.
Sure.
So I would email the teacher, and I was like, well, if he's finished with his work and he's playing on the computer, give him more work to finish or give him harder work to do.
Sure.
Or I can't get mad at him for playing on the computer because he's just, he's an advanced kid and he's just bored.
Well, he's a kid.
Yeah,
you know?
he's just a kid
that's
in
all there is
general,
to it. Yeah. So we're back at the track. It is, I'm assuming, about 7 a.m. And the announcer says that they have a record attendance, 62,427 fans. I didn't realize there's that many people in that area. 62,000 people? I mean, that's like a football attendance, right?
Well, you got to
think.
think they're probably in a metroplex area.
Man.
They're probably in an area that.
But it is the Arlen Speedway. And you got 62,000 people.
That's a lot of people at the Arlen Speedway.
I don't even think the roads would handle that many people, right?
In Arlen?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I've never seen like multi
Well, they got a
roads.
Megalomart that will definitely
right.
handle 66,000 people.
I guess you're right. All right, so
well, didn't they like put up Walmarts in towns of like 5,000 and 10,000 people?
Oh, sure.
So and those are the ones that no longer exist.
But
those towns no longer exist because Walmart killed them.
But again, with Walmart, you didn't have 62,000 people driving to it at one time. You know what I mean?
Opening day. It's funny. It's funny. I'll go ahead and just hit this real quick.
Yeah.
So here in town, Westview Village was built in the 50s, and there's some photographs of opening day, and it is the coolest looking thing ever because it's just literally packed.
Yeah.
The parking lot is filled.
Those Cox's and all those other places,
filled.
Yeah.
But it's just all these beautiful, brightly multicolored 50s vehicles because it's all like brand new cars.
Yeah, this is an outside shopping mall that he's talking about. Yeah,
it was the first one. It was actually the Great Migration. That direction was that first after the tornado took out town.
Yeah, because the main drag used to be down here. Instead of
and when that tornado took it all out, they built that out there after instead of just rebuilding down here.
We had a big tornado here in the 50s, and everybody still refers to it.
It's actually
because it did kind of tear the town up.
For weather history, it's actually one of the worst in recorded weather history in the United States. One of the worst events. It actually spurned 2 events. After it hit here, or it hit San Angelo first, and it had a bad tornado that hit San Angelo, and then the storm moved this direction and then hit us, or it's the other way around. Whatever happened, there was 2 tornadoes.
I lived in San Angelo for a very short amount of time.
It's where
the only thing
my wife's family's from.
The only thing I know about San Angelo is when we lived there, I used to trip over the heating grate, and my teeth would go through my lip because I hit my face on the floor.
The thing there that is the Scorpions.
The Scorpions.
Because it's out west.
The band?
Oh, no, not the band.
Oh.
The creatures.
Actual Scorpions, I guess.
Yeah, that's
It'd
where,
be weird if just the
I've been to San Angelo a lot. Yeah, that's where my wife's whole family's from, like San Angelo, Brady, that area. And her uncle is one of the like sergeant in the police force out there in San Angelo.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we go out there and visit quite often.
If anybody's in the San Angelo / Brady area, make sure you reach out to us. I got some folks in Brady.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Okay,
goats.
So
they have a great goat.
They used to have a goat
cook-off.
festival.
They still do. They just had it recently.
Yeah.
It just like 2 weekends ago.
So Arlen Speedway, we're at the Shack. Jimmy Witchert overhears that there's 62,427 fans there. That's a lot of people. And then there's some other guy standing there. He says, and it's hot, and they're going to want drinks. I know that. You think I don't know that? People are hot and dry. They want something cold and wet. Tommy! So he calls out for Tommy / Bobby. Now we are looking at the pace car with all the guys, and Dale says, it's nice, but where are the cigarette ads? So there's no cigarette ads on the pace car. Hank says, hey, look, it's Dale Earnhardt, and he's coming this way.
Yeah, this is where we get the Dale Earnhardt scene.
Bill says, oh, it's the Intimidator. And he just runs off. He just runs off.
Well, he's intimidated,
I guess. Boomhauer says, hey, man, remember that dang old third turn Darlington, man? I just wanted to turn to loose, make go, woo, I tell you what. And
Darlington, everybody. That's a racetrack, yeah.
Earnhardt says, man, this rope sure is soft and pretty. I noticed it when we unloaded my car. So,
okay,
Bobby's got something in common with Dale Earnhardt.
So, I've got a fun trivia fact for this part right here.
You got?
Okay, so this scene gets deleted in the British airing.
Really?
Because the British airing, they air it at a later date. So this episode doesn't actually hit the airwaves on TV for the first time until 2 months. Or hold on. The episode aired 2 days after Earnhardt died.
Really?
So it was 2 days after he died. So they pulled that scene.
Wow.
And then that's February of 2001. No. In April of 2001.
Wow, it didn't air until 2001?
No, it didn't air until 2001.
Crap. This is like a 98 episode,
this
right?
Is like, yeah.
Isn't this 1998?
Yeah. And then it makes its way back in syndication in April. It comes back around to that episode again in Europe. And they still didn't have it on there. So
that's crazy.
They
well, you hear the commentator.
But you know how he died, right? Like the whole Earnhardt thing.
He hit a wall.
He blacked out. But what they think a lot of it had to do with is the CTE stuff that's going on with a lot of athletes.
Oh, like the brain injury
concussions
stuff?
And brain injuries. Because Dale Earnhardt's senior son stopped racing what is considered early for a race car driver to stop because he started to realize of how bad all of the concussions that these guys lived in an era where they didn't count them. So they've been through countless concussions in their life. Their heads are fried. So his head, like they say that his brain shut off while he was driving, or he fainted,
can't even imagine.
He passed out, or had some kind of, some issue and hit the wall and he was done.
I can't even imagine having that many concussions. That's a problem. But that's rough.
It is like a lot of the football players. I was watching a Warren Sapp interview the other day, and he was talking about how he was going to a 420 event, like to go smoke and have fun, and he's just driving down the highway, and he just completely went blank, didn't know where he was going. Yeah. He had to pull over on the side of the road to try to figure out
that happens, man.
Where he was at.
It happens with athletes. That's rough. So the commentator says the honorary pace car driver to start the race, Officer Clint Radar Jimson, winner of the Amateur Classic 100.
Yep.
So, okay, so now I understand the continuity. So the initial race was the 100. This is the 200 that the big drivers are in.
The big drivers.
Okay, all right, that's my fault.
And usually the number connotates lap count.
Yeah. So Hank says the cars are getting good traction. We're not going to see many crashes today. Dale says, yep. And Sad Boomhauer says, yep.
Yep.
So he's waiting for 3 crashes before he can even get in.
3 crashes. That's all he needs, guys.
We're in the stands with Peggy and Luann. Luann's got a big sign that says, "We love Jeff," with a bunch of hearts on it and stuff. She says, so, okay, we wave this sign around, and Jeff Gordon sees it. Then he comes up to us in the stands and is so taken by our charms that he asks one of us to marry him. Peggy says, well, honey, it probably won't be me. I got a ring on my finger. And Luann out of nowhere. Yeah, and big feet. That's a little rough for Luann, man. She says, yeah, and big feet. And Peggy says, I'm ignoring that because a man is on fire, and starts taking pictures with her fun saver because there's a big crash.
Yeah. That's all they want, man. I'm telling you, that's the only reason why some people watch racing sports.
Yeah.
I like to watch racing sports sometimes, but I don't watch it for crashes. I watch it to see talented race car drivers drive.
Sure.
But there's definitely I want to say that's probably a fair part of the audience. I would say for racing wants to see crashes. What kind of crazy shit's going to happen next.
So the yellow flag comes out because a man is on fire, and we hear the cars speeding by and stuff. The pace car then enters because they have to do that whenever there's a slowdown on the track. Bill says 2 down, 1 to go. Because somebody actually had a crash. Bobby comes by and says, soda, get your soda. And Hank is like, hey, that's great timing. We're all ready for a cold soda. And all 3 of the guys are like, hey, I don't know. It looks like Bobby sweats on him. I drank some milk. I don't even. And then Hank says, well, it's on me. And so now everybody's happy. They want a soda.
Yeah.
He says, Bobby, these sodas are hot. Son, you got to find a way to be more efficient. Listen to Mr. Witchard. He'll tell you what to do. Bobby's like, okay. And then finally, Dale, being the voice of reason, says, Witchard, Jimmy Witchard? You told Bobby to listen to Jimmy Witchard? He was in my gun club. People say he fried his brain one day just staring at the sun. Of course, he couldn't have been too smart to do that in the first place. Kind of a chicken egg thing. So now we see Jimmy sitting on a bunch of pizza boxes that are on top of a pallet that are next to the cooking oil barrels.
Yeah, they're right by
So
the
he's just
oil.
like sitting out in the alleyway, right? And he's watching the race. He's drinking some Alamo. He said, you made me thirsty.
You made me thirsty.
He's yelling at the beer can.
You made me thirsty.
You made me thirsty. And so he's like, hey, you, Tommy, I need a soda. Now he is yelling at Bobby, who is across the track in the pit.
A live racetrack.
Yeah.
Like that's active. There's cars hurling past him at hundreds of miles an hour.
He says, hey, you, Tommy, I need a soda. He said, yes, Mr. Witchard. Not that way. Just run across. He wants him to run across the damn track and give him a soda. Bobby's like, but the track, he goes, don't talk back to boss, man. You ain't never crossed a highway. Run where there ain't any cars.
Yeah.
Bobby says, they're going too fast. He said, do it, you monkey boy. I'm boss of you.
I'm the boss of you.
I'm the boss of you.
I like how he says it. I'm the boss of you.
So he tries.
I'm going to start telling people that. I'm the boss of you.
I'm the boss of you,
Yo,
monkey boy.
my kid gets out of line. I'm the boss of you.
Hey, you monkey boy. So... Boy, I'm telling you,
I'm killing myself. Jimmy
Witchard voice.
It's right there in the back of your throat.
Oh my God! So Hank sees him trying to go into the track. He goes, "What the hell, Bobby? No, what are you doing?" He says, "I'm going to cross the track and bring Mr. Witchard a soda." He said, "That's crazy. Why would you do something like that?" He says, "I'm giving 110%, Dad." Yeah. And then you hear Witchard across the track behind the chain link fence. He goes, "Go to here." Go to. Boy, I want soda. Go to. Now you. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he doesn't even know what the fuck he's talking about now.
Craziest person.
Well, he's had beer now, so he's
go to here.
So
go to
he's
boy.
drunk and he ain't right. So
Hank is pissed. Hank gets an ugly look on his face. He is pissed
he's mad.
off. So,
and actually, go ahead.
No, you're good. Hank takes off across the track.
Yep.
And then you hear the commentator, there's a crazy man on the track. You hear a bunch of
there goes Gordon into the wall.
Jeff Gordon in his Skittles car.
And he screams daddy.
He does. He screams daddy.
Like you can hear it super. It's really, really quiet, but you can hear him go, daddy.
Daddy.
Yeah.
And so a guy points at Boomhauer. I've never seen the guy, but he has a clipboard, so I'm assuming he's official. He says, you're up.
He got his third wreck.
I don't know what happened to the cop. Why is he not?
He already did his.
Still driving the pace car, though.
Well, because everybody gets a turn, so every wreck it's somebody different that's driving.
All right.
So the cop got the first one.
Bill and Dale are very happy for Boomhauer. They're like, yeah, Boomhauer. And then you hear Wichert across the track. Ha, you can't get me because Hank has gone across the track.
And then Hank, okay, this is one of my favorite bois. So here we get a bois from Hank where he goes, bois, and then just kicks the shit out of the fence.
He busts through that fence.
And this is like a racing fence, a fence for racing.
That kind of thing, yeah.
Kicked his way. And this right here again shows, I think, his relationship with Bobby and how much he loves his son.
Yeah.
He realized that now his son was working for this jackass.
Yeah.
And now we get a scene. Hank climbs the fence. He climbs through the fence. And he's chasing Wichert, and he's literally
kicking his
ass. Okay,
he's just kicking and kicking.
So the trivia on the ass kicking. This is the only time.
Yeah.
That you see Hank making good on his words to kick someone's ass.
Well, it should be Jimmy Wichert if you're going to kick anybody's ass.
This is the climax point of the episode is him booting Jimmy Wichert down. That's the climax point.
Sure.
And the reason why is because he put Bobby's life in danger.
He put Bobby in danger, yeah.
And this scene is actually, I just wanted to add this little trivia. This scene is actually used again.
Really?
In a flashback. So there's an episode called the Texas Skill Saw Massacre, which is, I don't know what season or episode that is, but it's the 107th. It's in the 7th season.
Okay.
Episode
but they flash
7.
back to this ass kicking.
They flash back to the ass kicking. But you know what episode that is? That's the episode where Hank falls through the kitchen floor and he finds that tunnel that they're all building.
Oh,
and then I think he has to go. He goes to the anger management or whatever that it is. Yeah, he goes to the anger management. And he meets that dude named Big Jim whose heart like stops or whatever because he's mad.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that one?
Yeah.
Where he's like, I don't have anger problems. I just have a problem with idiots. And it's when the trash truck is about to drive over the tunnels that they've made.
Oh, yeah.
So they bring back that to show Hank's anger problems.
Oh, wow.
So that was one of the flashbacks.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
My favorite part of this ass kicking incident is the fact that Peggy is just up there taking pictures with her fun saver. She's taking pictures of Hank kicking this guy's ass.
Yeah, just taking pictures. Yeah.
Which is fantastic.
That is fantastic.
All right. So next day, we're at home, and Hank comes into Bobby's room. He says, "Hey, Bobby, what you doing? Playing a video game?"
Vidya. Okay.
Vidya.
Yeah, Vidya game. And the funny thing is he's sitting there reading a book.
He's reading a book. And
like
he goes,
Hank could walk in the room and see what he's doing, and he says, "Playing a video game?" Okay.
He says, I just wanted to say I should have listened to you when you said how bad that Wichert guy was. Bobby says, I almost died. I'd rather not talk about it.
Yeah.
Hank says, Bobby, you worked harder this month than any guy on this block, and I want to give you the money you earned. He says, Dad, I don't want money. I was happy before when you just bought all the stuff around here and there was no money involved. Hank says, well, still, I'd like to give you a couple $100.
Well, you got to think he worked a couple $100 worth of money now. He's been working there for every weekend.
That's a lot of money for Hank.
But you got to think, if the kid worked 3 weekends, it's worth at least $100
But think about this. He gave him $1 before.
Yeah, but he also has his checkbook for $175. So I don't know. I
guess
think
he wants
Hank
to just buy him the bike. Is what
wants
it is.
to teach him. He's trying to teach him a
Yeah.
lesson, and the lesson backfired.
I guess.
And he realized that he's still just a kid. Let me just buy shit for him until he's ready for it.
So Bobby,
Let kids be kids, guys.
Bobby-
Don't make your kids work at like 15. Come on, let them be kids.
Bobby being Bobby says, "I'll tell you what, you just buy me a couple of pairs of short pants and we'll call it even." What a wonderful ending.
That's a great inning.
Just buy
I
some
like
short
it.
pants. Yeah.
Just make sure I got my short pants, Dad.
we
and,
hear the credits, and then at the very end, we hear Wichert say, "Do it, you monkey
you
boy."
monkey boy. Yeah.
This is this was probably a little bit of a long episode.
Yeah, it went a little long,
It
but
seemed like it went a little long, but it was a good episode. It's just weird, but I do like
like
the
an hour and
introduction.
40 minutes probably.
I do like the introduction of
Where we had producer I'm
Mason.
about to say producer Mike Mason.
Hour 28.
Hour 28.
It's not
That's
near as
not
bad as I
bad.
thought
Nah,
it was.
That's
Yeah.
good. That's good.
So I do like the introduction of Jimmy Wichert though, because Jimmy plays an important part coming up.
Yeah.
in
Okay,
many
Mike.
episodes.
That was great. That was a great
Yeah,
episode.
it was good.
Yeah, so guys, we're done with the voting phase of
Yep.
the Waco Award show. So now we're just waiting. So keep your
We're-
fingers crossed, keep your toes crossed.
We're waiting for the
And-
actual nominees to be announced.
Yeah, waiting for the
Yeah.
actual nominees to be
And
announced.
I'm assuming that we will be the only podcast in that nomination, because I mean, who else could compete?
I can think of a couple that might be on there, but I don't know who's going to win.
I think it's all going to be
I think
Rogue
we're
Media
gonna win.
Podcasts.
I think it's going to be Rogue Media Podcasts.
Yeah.
There's nobody else that's doing podcasts.
There's people.
There are.
Yeah, there's a lot of churches.
Well.
Church
Okay.
cast.
Let me change. Let me rephrase that. There are no podcasts that have the chance of gaining a viewer base outside of the church that they're affiliated with.
Yeah. I don't know that
It's
people
crazy.
are
Their numbers
looking
are
up
probably
church
nuts
class.
if you go look at them.
They
But
are
it's
nuts, yeah.
probably just the congregation that
Yeah.
listens to it,
It's
though.
the congregation. And
That's enough. If you got a congregation of 300 people, yeah.
But I mean, if you got Jesus listening to your podcast, I mean, that's pretty big get.
I think Jesus listens to our
I think
podcast.
so.
Yeah, he does.
He's very
Do you
disappointed.
really? I have never in my life, after reading the Bible, thought that Jesus would ever hang out with anybody I ever met
Yeah.
at church.
Yeah. No, that's probably
Yeah.
pretty true right there. Yeah.
I've always, and like, just from reading the Bible for myself, I always thought that Jesus would be with the hookers and the drug addicts and
So speaking of Jesus, where can they find us in social media?
www.heaven.com // Jesus favorite podcast.
No.
You can find us at BWAAAKOTH on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter.
All them places.
Yeah, those three places, and Facebook. We're there
You
too.
can check us out on roguemedianetwork.com along with a ton of other shows.
Some good ones, and since we're in the spookier
Yeah.
month, make sure that y'all check out
Spooky.
Poltergals
Poltergals,
Boobays, and Bloody Happy Hour.
Poltergals have just entered their true crime phase.
Oh wow, there you
So
go, guys.
they
Spooky
are
true crime.
They are not only
Is it a hybrid though? Is it like?
It is a hybrid.
So it's like spooky stuff around true crime events.
Well, think of
right?
this. Think of this. If there's a murder somewhere, there's probably a ghost, right?
Yeah. So are they doing old murder? Or are they going
True
back and like
crime
looking for
and
stuff from
ghosts.
like?
Yeah. They're
Well,
looking
because
at
I've
old
always
stuff,
thought like
sure.
a good show for true crime would be like a medieval true crime, where you go and get like
It's all
Jack
swords.
the Ripper.
It's all swords.
You know,
though.
stuff like
Everybody
exploring
got
like
killed by
Jack
a
the
sword.
Ripper type stuff.
Yeah, that'd
explore
be
stuff
kinda
like
cool.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're doing some true crime stuff. They have a live show coming up.
Oh, they do.
It's going to be Poltergals and
October the 22nd.
Boobays. Yep.
That's on my calendar.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're doing a live show. It's going to be
I've
fun.
got that on my calendar. I'll be at the door greeting everyone.
So, guys, make sure that you get your candy for Halloween. And this is just a PSA on my part. Buy the good candy. It doesn't cost that much more.
And I
You
want
give out that
to
shit candy to kids,
Yeah.
they're going to hate your house.
and I want to
They're gonna
shout out
egg
to
it.
Artie. Candy's
Artie.
still not here, Artie. When it gets here,
Oh,
I will share it with Mike and with our producer Mason.
Artie.
And we're
will.
going to sit here and enjoy it on camera.
Yes.
I'll
we'll-
actually turn the camera on live for Twitter so
we'll go
you can
live
watch
and
us
eat candy.
consume the
You
candy.
got it. You got it. I hope it's not poison.
No way to know.
That's right. That's right.
Should I feed it to the dog? No, it's
You'll see
chocolate.
us-
It'd poison the dog anyway.
you'll see-
Yeah.
You'll see us die, Artie. It's great.
Yeah, there we go.
All right,
you
well,
two
guys,
eat
it was
first.
fun, and we'll catch you next time.
You hear him? He said he would taste it first. Mason did.
Mason will taste the candy. He's our official taster. All right, guys, we'll see you next time.
Tanya.
We Matanye.
They gave it 1 star.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.